Yes. So, um, good afternoon, Dr. Collins and Rollins. I'm so happy today to have meet with you, and I really want to ask you some question about the evolution topic, specifically related to the invasive species.
Great.
And yes, the first question is that when and why, did you start being interested in invasive species?
It started during my PhD when I started to work on starlings. I got really interested in invasive species because they're really excellent models for looking at rapid evolution. And they're also quite plentiful, and they have real-world applications. So people are interested in knowing things about what's happening in invasive populations because they impact the world around us.
Yes. So, why do you think that invasive species is a good model for the studying of the evolution?
Because we've seen in lots of different systems that when rapid evolution occurs, when species go into novel environments, so they have new selection pressures, and they often respond quite quickly to those and adapt to their new environments.
Yes. So, do you think that's I think that there are many mechanisms for the invasive species to adapt well with the environment. So, do you think what is the most important mechanism of the invasive species to develop?
That's really the question that drives all of my research.
Yes.
So, we have studied a fair bit now what happens genetically when a population it grows in a new range, in a new invasive range. We don't know very much about what happens epigenetically, and I think it's a really exciting new area that people are just in the last couple of years starting to consider what kind of impacts epigenetic change might have during invasion.
Yeah.
So I don't know the answer, but I hope to find it.
Yes, I think it's very interesting. And I also wondering that you know that invasive species is very diverse. So many different especially like the maybe terrestrial or maybe the marine science. And I know that you already done a project on the invasive species in the marine science. And how do you think about the differences between the marine science with maybe some type of species on land? Yeah.
Well, I think that the basic theory behind what's happening is the same regardless of where the species is. I guess in terms of managing invasive species, marine species are difficult because we don't see them the way that we do many species on land. It's harder to know what's happening under the water. So I think they present a special problem for management. But in terms of the theory underlying what's happening, I expect it should be just the same.
Yes, and also the difference between the plants and animals. Invasive species?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. We certainly know a whole lot more about plant invasions than we do about animal invasions.
Yes.
I think, there's a much longer history of studying colonizing plant species. So I think they're ahead of the game, the guys that work on plants. I guess one of the interesting differences is dispersal. That's really, I think, the key because... I guess you have plants that have short and long dispersal distances, but they don't get up and move like animals do. I think there are some intrinsic differences, but once again, at the core of it, the ideas that govern what's happening in those invasions are probably the same regardless of what the organism is.
Yes. So the last time I attended a seminar from... the speaker of that seminar said that the invasive species have many invasive species in the Australia now. So even many ecologists don't like the acceptance of the invasive species as a native species. But she said that it is only the matter of time. How do you think about that idea?
Well, it's well known that we don't do a very good job at extirpating invasive species. We've really not succeeded at doing any vertebrate extirpation on any continent, only on islands. So I think in a sense that's correct. I think there are many invasive species that will not be removed from where they are now. So I think it becomes a matter of pragmatism, whether or not you decide to consider them to be part of the local biodiversity or not. I think you can spend a lot of money on doing control of invasive species that is wasted because in many cases it's impossible to remove them.
Yes, I know that it's very difficult to remove, to eradicate all the invasive species in Australia because there are many invasive species. However, do you think that do you think the impact of invasive species if they can invade many areas in Australia? Do you think which is the most serious problem when we accept invasive species as a native species?
Well, I mean, we know that invasive species cause a lot of problems. They cause problems ecologically, but they also cause humans a lot of problems because they're agricultural pests and they cause problems with human amenities. So there are a lot of things that we don't like about them. I think it's really hard to say the one thing that makes them worse. I think it would be very difficult to say, but I think in terms of, once again, about pragmatism, that, we can't, in many cases, we can't eradicate a species from a continent, but we can do localized control. And we've shown with work that my collaborators and I have done in Western Australia on starlings that it's actually economically beneficial to do localized control because we're forestalling some pretty significant agricultural problems. So even though you can't really wipe a species off a continent, you might actually be able to make a difference by doing control in localized areas that are important.
Yes, so that's a very interesting. I think that's a very interesting topic about invasive species because many areas for us to understand in the ecological system, and it is quite interesting to be, and I really want to know about this, and I will try to make it work too on the podcast. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you so much, Professor Rollins, due to your interesting topic here, and wish you always lucky, happy, and successful in your career.
Great. It's been nice talking.
Thank you.